Okay, I said there'd be a part 2, and there's going to be a part 2. Talking, of course, about this. This is the rectangular version of the 6105 8000. Okay, so let's see. I'm trying to. I never script this stuff out, so I always forget things and whatever. This video, the first part of this video, it got a big response. A lot of people were talking about it. Interestingly, I also managed to garner what is for me an unusual amount of, I don't know, sort by controversial kind of comments, which is fine. I mean, we're debating about watches, and I'm just one dude with an opinion. I'm not a lawgiver when it comes to these watches. However, a couple people went so far as they were so offended, so bothered by my video about this, they seemed to deliberately misunderstand my points and resorted to personal attacks against me. I'm not in a position or a place where I need to care about that kind of stuff. And if someone's going to devolve to personal attacks, their stuff gets deleted and they get blocked. And so that's the end of that. You can disagree with me, many people do, with good reason, and that's fine, but just no personal attacks. Okay, so what was I saying? So here we are. Now, I had a plan. When I first found out about these, I had a plan. Boop. On and off, some time ago, I realized that with some modifications and some fooling around, one can swap a 7000 series movement into a 6000 series case and vice versa. You have to change dial rings and movement rings and fiddle with stuff a little bit, but it can be done. So my thought when I saw this and I saw the quality and accuracy of the case, specifically the case finish and size and everything else like that, my first thought was, I have enough parts and things that I could build basically a bulletproof custom 6105 with original dial in hands and a 6000 series movement, not a 6105. I would go the next generation, which is I would go like for a 6319 or maybe a 6349. 6349, very highly jeweled. They even have jeweled, pre-jeweled mainspring arbor ports. Because of also, and this might work, because of the design of this, it uses a 7S, it uses an SKX style crown, basically, where you have the external threads and an internally threaded crown, but kind of big. One of the things I'm going to be looking to see is if I can get the stem off of this. Because if I can get the stem off that crown, then I could swap in 354615, which is the 6000 series one-piece stem. I wouldn't have to worry about building a diver composite stem. I could just put that in there, and it could in theory work, because an original 6105 dial-in handset will go on to 6309, 6319, 6349. It will go on there. I have tested some other stuff. I've just done some testing, swapping back and forth with a salesman sample of one of the new turtles, and I have put 6000 series type movements in there. It works. And I also confirmed that the reverse is true, because that's important. That talks about commonality. So far, from what I've seen, if I swap out the dial ring from the 6000 series to the 7000 series, but keep everything the same, the movement and dial and everything will drop into the case, and the crown tube is aligned with the stem port in the main plate. So that's one of the things I'm going to do today. But in order to do that, I need to take this apart. So we're going to take this apart. A few things I want to look at. I want to look at the case back threading. It looks it looks right for Seiko to me. I'm going to be looking at the crystal because I'm not a fan of, it's not so much the Sapphire, but I really don't like AR. I've never liked it. It also, Sapphire does not have that real like crystal clarity of Hardlex. Hardlex is much clearer. It's one of the problems with the new Seiko reissues that they all use sapphires, and it makes the dial look kind of remote and dull. Oh, and one last thing too. One of the things that really seemed to sort of perplex and upset and maybe annoy a lot of people in my first one was the emotion that I showed regarding my frustration with Seiko. The problem is I love Seiko. You guys know that. I love vintage Seiko. And I keep waiting for the day that they truly embrace their design heritage. But with the exception of the new Arnie, all of their reissues are lacking. They get things wrong. They do things wrong. That if you just look at the originals, you would see what made them special. And they seem to avoid those things, and they make changes that, I don't know, that don't help the design. And so it seems to me like, you know, it seems like this new generation of people don't really appreciate what made Seiko great in the past. And that's where my frustration is that Seiko does not seem to be willing to do what this Chinese company did for a $200 watch. And that is frustrating to get to see, you know, like an SLA 025, they're like $4,500, and they're not SLO 25, and they get a lot of the things are just, it just looks weird to me. They could have made it better. Obviously they have the designers, they have the manufacturing capabilities, but they chose not to for whatever reason. I understand that my opinion is only my opinion, and that's fine. Everybody has a different opinion. I have my opinion, and that's my opinion. You may disagree with me, and that's fine. Just none of this stuff is personal, dudes. Ladies and gentlemen, it's just watches. It doesn't matter. One guy was really pissed off, and I don't know, man, I really did something in his bowl of Cheerios. But anyway, it doesn't matter. None of this stuff is serious. By the time the atmosphere burns away in I think a little over 1 billion years, none of this will matter. Hell, none of this stuff will matter in 100 years. It's just watches. So seeing as these are just watches, let's take this thing apart. Don't you want to, Milo? Look, Milo's here. Okay. Okay, so here we go. Here's one of my experiments. Now this is a quartz movement, but it's a 7548. And the thing with the 7548 is it's the same external dimensions as a 6309. Now it's not aligned, but that's fine, because this is a 345 case. Let's see now. But you can see that it does drop in. So that's important. That's a genuine Seiko dial. Genuine Seiko 6105. And if this crown was at 4 instead of 345, I could put this together. So that was one of my tests that I know for a fact. And for fun, I went and dropped this. This is a 7000 series movement into a 6000 series case. And it works. It takes some fiddling, but it can be done. Hang on just 1 second for me. Okay, let's try that. I'm a lot closer to my microphone, and I don't think I need to be speaking that loud. Sorry for the noise. I'm learning as I go. Okay, so here we go. Well, I guess first things first, let's get this strap off of here. Okay, strap is off, and I see the first thing that is in fact different. Curious. Gosh darn it, hang on. Okay, up there. The case does not use the big fat spring bars, and the hole on the case is in a slightly different place. It's further in. So to use a standard Seiko dive strap, you're going to have to use there have to be a reverse one that's fat with thin tips. Okay, let's get the case back off. Well, actually, before I do that, this thing's been running since I got it. Let's get it up to power. And let's see what the numbers say. Now, I haven't worn it, though, but I still can see what the numbers say. Okay, so we know, because it's an NH35, it's a 4R35, 4036 actually, we know that the lift angle is 53, so let's see what we get. Okay, we got a little bit of beat error. Wow, look at those numbers. I mean, 270s, that's still a good starting point. So we know the movement is good. It's not adjusted, but it's fine. I've seen far worse out of other movements fresh out of the NH line. Okay, it's real steady. Good. Okay. Woo, look at that. Okay, so we got a good movement. Excellent. Okay, so interestingly, the case back was barely on. Like I didn't have to do much to it to get it to open. Nourish blows. Looking good, and I see it looks like a standard 7000 series movement holder. Very, very typical. I think it's going to be the same kind of thing as this 7S movement holder, just in gray, maybe? I don't know. I'm gonna have to pull that out. So, idiot cat, what are you doing? Oh. I swear, sometimes I think Milo is not very smart. Everybody's like, no. Oh yes. Yes, not very smart. So, let us see. Nice strap, by the way. Let's get this going. Yes. Crown is the threaded type. So I should be able to take that out and put in a 6000 series. And because you've got the spring is built into the crown, I don't have to worry about building a 6000 style compound thread, which is awesome. That's great news. Now let's test, just for fun. This is a genuine Seiko caseback. Now all these divers should use the same case. This is a caseback for one of the reissue turtles, the new ones, the genuine Seiko ones. Look at that. Goes right on. Okay, so the threading is the same, and it works with the seal that they've got. That is great news. Okay, so we have two successes, two back-to-back successes. Yeah. Look, nice looking case back. Look, they even have the correct frosted surface, which always makes it so much easier to sign. We got a few casting or machining errors, but okay, let's see. It's a little thinner dive seal than Seiko would have used, but that's not a super big deal. Let's put that into our handy dandy speed greaser. Okay. Stop being clever. Okay. Where is it? One of the joys of being me is every day is a treasure hunt. Or a scavenger hunt in this case. You're always looking for stuff. Let's look. It's nice loom. It's nice loom. The hands look good. It's nice because it has sort of a creamy semi-translucence to it and a nice grain finish. It's smooth. I mean, they didn't. It's not ideal. I mean, if we want to, I mean, it's not Seiko. Let me put it that way. It ain't Seiko. Okay, now this is a heavily damaged dial, but it is original. Well, let's see if I've got a better one. Let me get this out. Come on, open. Edro. Okay, come on. Sorry, I'm getting a dial out here. Come on. Ever notice that when you're trying to rush, it always takes longer? Just use this because it's convenient. There we go. Okay, genuine dial. I think that's one of the key things is the tops of the markers on the Seiko one are absolutely flat. Plus, we know that these things have a lot of depth to them. Probably to give it more glow. Back in the day, modern loom doesn't really need that. These look to be applied, and I'd say the loom is printed on top of them. If I had to guess. Is that what it looks like? Do you see the loom on top? I think so. I think they're, well, let me look at it really close. Okay. So, the way these are, now I've looked at it very closely. The way these are is these are applied slab markers with the depression in the middle, and the loom is screen printed inside. It's interesting looking at this under really tight magnification. This has the same linen pattern as the 6309 divers do. You can actually see the hatching from the printing thing. Other things that are different, this top surface of this hand is either by accident or deliberately almost has sort of a brushed look. The original Seiko ones, of course, were all high polish. It's pretty nice looking applied logo. All things considered, that's pretty cool. Another thing I like, because if they're going to be, being funky, obviously they're not doing a one-to-one recreation, is having the red 150M match that. That's okay. I like things that match. Okay, interesting. So it looks like a spacer on top of the movement between the standard Seiko movement holder and the dial. That's very interesting. I wonder why they did it that way. Okay, well, I don't know. I don't know why they did it that way, but whatever. Okay, so now here is the big test. This, again, that's an original dial. And I just, for fun, for quickness, I just put it on this 7548. But the 7548 is externally exactly the same as the 6309, which is more or less the same, basically, as 6105. So I should now, and because this case is 345 crown, this case is 4 o'clock crown. So I should, in theory, be able to just drop that in. Okay, so now, does the stem line up? Oh, yes, it does. I don't think you can really see it, but it does. It does line up. Wow. Okay. Well, that is interesting. Okay, I want to do some. Make sure that is in fact the case. But if that's the case, that lines up at 4, then I can do that. I'm a real fan of, if a watch is completely all original, like especially something really valuable, like a 6105, I don't tend to really wear it very much. This is my wearer 6105 8110. This I built out of parts as they came to me. This thing doesn't have a 6105 movement in it. This has a 6319, which is the higher jeweled of the 6309 that I added a hacking lever and arbor jeweling to. So I can wear this every day, and if the movement gets wet, who cares? This, I'm going to do the same thing. Because this case looks so correct and similar to the original. In fact, let me go get one of those. Hang on. Okay, so this is the rectangular case. This is a genuine case. You can see the rectangular case is a little thicker, but hang on a second. I'm trying to make it, there we go. But you can see the dimensions, like the flat edges externally, it looks great. It looks great. Yeah, like this watch is original. I always hesitate to wear this one out of the house. I'll wear it inside the house, but not very often. With something like this, if I can build this case with an original dial and hands and movement, and then put it in with 6000 series movement, I will have a completely wearable slim case 6000 with 200, well, they say 150 meters on the dial, but this thing has the same setup as a 7002, with a stem that has an internal seal in there, and that should be good for well over 200 meters. Okay, so now the next thing is I want to look at this rotating ring and that crystal. The big question is, can I swap this crystal out? I can see by looking sideways there's a white nylon ring in there, so it's a press-in crystal. But if it's 32 millimeters, I can change it. So hang on. Okay, so we got a two-part thing going on here. This right here provides the drag, sort of the slick and smooth feeling. This is the spring. Right there, that is the spring. It's a very crude arrangement. I've seen this on Chinese-made watches before. I remember it was a bear to get back together. But interestingly, the rotating ring has a standard sort of retaining springy thing here. The last time I dealt with one of these, it was almost impossible for me to get it back together. So I'm going to be curious to see what we got here. Hang on. And so I want to be careful. It's one of the things that they cut corners on stuff like this. So that's unfortunate, but we'll see how that goes. But it still functions. So who cares? But it's just a matter of whether or not I can get it back together. Now, I haven't taken this out. I know. How would you stop it? Sebastian the other day was talking about one of his toys, and he said, "Stop fighting me." Ugh, affected my children. Okay, let's see. Oh, come on, would you stop it? I'd say it's right at 32. 31.7. I don't know. I'm going to have to... Hang on a second. That might be 30. You know, I think there's nothing to it but to do it. I think I'll just pull it and measure it that way. Okay, crystal is out. It is 31.5. It's the same size as a 6105, and it's slightly domed internally. 31.5. I might have to reuse this because 31.5 in a dome, I'm not quite sure how that's going to work out, and you need the dome to have it look right. You can see it's an L gasket press in. I'll have to dig through my stuff and see if there's a 31.5, and also it's with that right polish. So, okay, but I think it's possible. I might have to reuse this. I wonder if there's any way to strip the AAR off it. If I could strip the AAR off it, then I'd be a lot happier. But that'll be a plan B. That'll be a plan B. Okay, so now I got to do some fiddling. Okay, so that was just a bunch of fun. There's always going to be some complication. And this complication was, how do we have a 6000 series, how do we have a 6000 series stem talk to a 7000 series crown? Because they're two different tap sizes. And I could probably have ordered the right thing, or I could have done it my way, which is to get out my box of stem extenders, which is have different sizes, inner and outer, so I can make a join between the correct stem and the crown. So I made sure that these worked, so I'm going to cut all these down and then screw them together, and that will make the correct crown, and it will screw down. Interestingly, by the way, these are twin lock. So they have a seal inside the crown tube and inside the crown. So let me shorten that down. So all that ridiculousness for nothing, because when I ended up stacking all those things, when they ended up stacking all those things together, it was too long for the case. So I then remembered one of my oldie-timey tools, which is a thread cutter. Basically, you make your own screws. This one is very old, and it is French made. It's broken off. I got this from my tutor. I have the other piece somewhere, but I'm only using this one. So you can go, it's just like a tap and die, but it's very small. And so you grind down you cut down the threads on that side, and you all of a sudden you get a smaller ring. It's just what I should have done from the beginning. And there it is, screwed down and in place. So I can move ahead. I don't know if this is a stupid project or not, but you know it's Sunday, so what the heck. Time to learn. Okay, so it is mostly assembled. Like the last time I had one of these Chinese-made divers, it was I don't remember what it was. It was a case setup for something else. I don't remember what it was. I ran into the same problem. These rotating rings appear to be built. You have to put this heavy wire in first, then you have to snap the rotating ring on top of it, but it's not held in place yet. This is a really stupid system. Basically, the whole thing is held together by the insert. So you've got to put that in with the racky thingy, the clicky clocky, whatever it is, and then you've got to find a way. You've got to work this ring into the gap, and then you have to glue the insert down, which I'm going to do now. Yeah, so there it is. So that's how that retaining ring works. You've got to assemble this thing from the front. What a stupid system. And then here's the insert this thing came with. I mean, I guess that means one could, in theory, put a better insert in this, depending on the size. It is what it is. I mean, but you could, in theory, I guess, get a better insert, and this thing would look really awesome. I put a case back on that has been sterilized, but there it is. So this is inside of this thing now is a 6319 movement that I upgunned. And that's an original dial and hands. This is the crystal that came with it. It's 31.5 millimeters, internally domed. It's got twin lock crown, unidirectional rotating bezel, which has to be assembled through the front. It must be assembled through the front. And it's kind of a crude setup, but it does work. And solid stainless steel case. The automatic winding works. There it is. So we have basically a super 6105 with greatly increased water resistance. Original on the inside and absolutely wearable on the outside. That is pretty wacky. It's not what I planned on doing today. I was going to cut out the old exhaust system on the MG, but this got the better of me. Isn't that wacky? Okay, well this is the inside and everything for my 6105 8110. I just did this for expeditious sake, but I'm going to get hands and dial and everything that are original, but not worthy of going in an original watch. And then I'll build one of these, and then I will get, out of the deal, I will get a free NH35, which I can use in something else, and that's it. I like the handset too. Maybe I can use that. Okay, well thank you so much for watching.